Who'd like to pick that one?
I'll start. What I think is coming out of this conversation is about the humanity, about connecting with people's humanity. And different people require different things to build up the bank of trust. Larry told a great story about the fact that when he's communicating with colleagues in China, actually it's much easier for them to type the conversations than it is for them to have the conversations by voice. And so they build more trust and more comfort with each other by by communicating digitally than in other ways. There are other people in other cultures who really need that face-to-face. And I think making working this way successful is to look at each individual situation, each participant's requirements, motivations, and to build something around that. Some people do need face-to-face. If you're working in Latin America, they, generally wildly stereotyping, but I found this to be true. They got to meet you. They really want to be with you, and that can change the nature of the relationship. Other cultures, it's very different. I have a colleague in Seattle. She hates seeing people. She's a wild, isolated introvert, and she loves digital communication. And her relationships with people digitally have so much more trust and flow and comfort. And it's really just about assessing each situation.
I'll just build on that and say, to me, it's about training people to do things differently. So we would train people about how to be visible in a virtual world, but managing your presence on Communicator, about having Skype calls, or being face-to-face when you have to. It's not something, you see those clips on YouTube of bad conference calls, which are hilarious. If we don't actually train people on how to do things differently, we'll start working this way, but it won't be very good. So if you actually invest in teaching people about how to build relationships virtually, we've got stories where people have telepresence parties. This sounds really tragic, but when you don't have the choice of being together at the end of the Christmas, celebration, celebrate the end of the year. There are teams that will get together in Singapore and United States and the UK, and it would be a champagne brunch for the guys in Inglewood Cliffs, and it'll be a nightcap for the guys in Singapore. But it'll be 10 minutes to say, hey guys, great job, and then everyone in the UK probably goes down to the pub. But at least it's getting a sense of the team together. So I think trust is all about those relationships and training people how to do it virtually, how to manage your visibility, how to manage performance virtually. So my boss and I have a spreadsheet where we mark things red, amber, green, and he could see on any given day where things were at without talking to me. So he didn't need to constantly pester me, even though he was on the other side of the world.
I'd just like to say something about the trust issue, because I think it's absolutely crucial and very central. But one of the things that comes up time and time again when you talk about this is that you will have said back to you, well, that's fine, I can trust certain people in my team. I know that they've worked their socks off, they've shown that they can perform, and therefore we're going to allow them a little bit of extra flexibility as a result of proving themselves, or it's only certain people that we can do this for. And one of the things that's come up quite a lot is what happens when people are joining an organisation for the first time. How do they become sort of involved in the culture, learn the values of the organisation and all of that? If it isn't in person and in an office. So I think our view about this is that you have to start from the beginning with this. You don't, and if you put trust in people, they will generally, a vast majority of them will repay that and rise to the challenge. If you give them objectives and you set the standards high, they will generally rise to the challenge. But that's not a perception that we find in a lot of organisations. They will be exceptional about this, about the trust thing. So I don't, at Unilever, you really do make it for everybody, don't you? It's right from the beginning when you join as a graduate or whatever.
There are still pockets where it's done much better than others, but I think it's increasingly becoming the norm. It's not as good as some companies like we saw in Sydney, where it is mandated for everyone. That that was. I think we're still yet to get to that point.